Hello, I'm happy to be in your beautiful city and happy to see you. I want to tell you about informational art I'm working on. I call this style complexity graphics, and I work with lots of clients in the US, including Breakthrough, Initiatives, lots of magazines like New Scientist magazine or Wired, HP, like lots of different companies that work with big data. And this style started, so the first time I was inspired by infographics when I worked as a psychologist in school, and we made a test for kids called sociometry. So each kid had to answer 3 questions, like who would you invite to your birthday party, who's your best friend, and some third question. And I had to visualize it, you know, the map of the class. And I didn't know those kids, but I saw on this infographic map who of them was really popular and who of them was really lonely. And we as a psychologist could work with those kids and, you know, help them to be not that lonely. And I was really inspired because, you know, there were just like dots and lines and connections, and there were really powerful things that we could do. So yeah, and then I started doing some drawings while I was like on the phone, like lines and dots, like everybody does that. So and then I tried to make them digital. So. And then they start to live their own life and they start their kind of evolution process. So from like simple waves, they are, you know, now they can be like big data, meditative works, like future city art and anything else. So this piece is an abstract network, and I like to dream about like living, breathing big data networks. So I like to imagine how they breathe, how they grow, how they develop, and so on. So next video, I call it informational diving. It was made about 6 years ago, I think, and it's sort of like her inspiration about big data. And how to make it play. Yeah. Oi, mama. I won't play it like all the video. You can watch it later. So I was inspired by the way how this simple style can show us the world of connection, and I thought that, you know, everything is connection, everything is information, and I tried to understand how far this style can lead me. And for my clients, I do like real data visualizations, like this is a real data image, and I tried to make it more inspiring and beautiful. And sometimes I do just like metaphorical big data, because huge companies work with like crazy amount of data, and it's impossible, and sometimes just it's not beautiful, you know, when you try to show all this data. So they use metaphorical way to show how beautiful it is in mathematical way. So, but this piece is real, so that's why I decided to show you this one. And these illustrations I made for. So I tried to make a series of work for describing the world of change, world of complexity, so-called VUCA world. I think you know this term. So this is a short slideshow. Also, I like to think about noosphere. First, I heard about this term in Vernadsky's books. I think you are familiar with this, with his like geosphere, noosphere, semiosphere terms. And in his book, he wrote that his generation won't understand noosphere because it's a sort of connection world that is covering our Earth around, and it's a world of knowledge, world of connection, world of information. And he said that generation of his granddaughter and next generation is gonna understand this. So thinking about this noosphere term, I like to imagine how future art could work. So I like to think about this, and I already started working on this. I like to imagine these city mandalas that would be connected, for example, to like charity in every city. So as much charity is going on in some city, you know. So at the beginning, the mandala will be simple, and if you make this charity, you know, really good, this mandala will grow. But I don't want us to know the results. So I want us to be surprised by the result of. So we will just add some rules, and then we're gonna see how it grows. So this is city mandalas. But actually, all my dreams about this future art are really connected to my dreams about holograms, because, you know, actually I think that almost all of the holograms we have so far is kind of fake. So it's just like sort of like different projections. And I'm dreaming about real hologram that you could, you know, you could be interactive with them, you can touch it, you can create it. So that's gonna help to make our dreams come true and make a really collaborative art and collaborative projects. Yeah, so this is the project I hope to work on really soon. It's an interactive temple, so you will be that small, column's gonna be really huge, they're gonna breathe, mandala gonna spin, and you're gonna control everything, because I think that temples have to be intangible, not non-material. And then click and you turning the temple off. One day I got a message from some person. She wrote me, Tatiana, do you have a religion? Because I'm in. So I decided that it's time to make a temple. Yeah. Also, I like to dream about data cities, future cities. I like to imagine this big data storages in this architectural forms that could be transparent or not that transparent. So I like to create letters and then words and then phrases like architectural forms, but I like to use pretty simple forms like canvases and domes and so on. So I think this future architecture will be really really connected to nature. So it could take energy from nature and protect you sometimes and give energy. So maybe that these structures will cover the city we know, like usual city with electricity, gonna be covered with these huge antennas. Yeah, so these are my dreams. And then you can hide in these domes, and you can make the covering not that transparent, and you can sleep there. Yeah, and Cosmos. Of course, I'm inspired by Cosmos, because when I was a little girl, I liked to play in a game. So my small room was a spaceship, and so I flew for about 5 years. So I had a window, and I flew through the cosmos. I had all the pirates around, and all the problems was going on there, and I was playing, and years passed, and I'm much older now, but sometimes I find myself near a computer doing this stuff, and I think that I'm still a little girl playing in a Cosmos game in my room. So I like to visualize some maps. This illustration was based on a real map, cosmic map of 19th century. So I recreated every dot, every distance of every star, really in precise way. And these spaceships were made for a director from Hollywood, J.J. Abrams. They called me once and told me that I have 4 days for creating two-dimensional spaceships. And they told me, you have 4 days, go crazy. And I actually did. So these are my spaceships. So I like to imagine how they breathe, how they open their protective fields. So they have these stations. It's like a huge city. And this is a project I'm really proud of. It started in a funny way, because once I made an illustration for some fundamental physics prize. And I thought it's just the Russian physicists, and I decided, of course, I'm gonna help Russian physicists, and I made some illustrations, and then they disappeared. And after 1 year, I was walking with my Labrador, and I got a call, and people told me, are you Tatiana? We were looking for you for 1 year. We are guys from that physics prize. And I said, yes, how are you guys? So how's your prize going? Are you okay? And they said, yeah, pretty much. So, we're pretty good. Every scientist got $1 million, and that was, this prize was launched by Stephen Hawking, Yuri Milner, Zuckerberg, and Sergey Brin. And it was translated on CNN and led by Morgan Freeman. And me and my Labrador were a little bit shocked, because it was, unexpected thing. So I was really proud to see on the background my images with Stephen Hawking. So I'm really honored to be part of this project, and he even made this Facebook post that I'm really I was happy to see that. Yeah, and this project, I just want to tell you that it's very important to tell about this project to teenagers, because Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla are doing this challenge for teenagers. So teenagers should make a video for some like theory and some science, mathematics, physics, life sciences, and they choose the best video from all around the world. So it's very, very interesting, and please tell teenagers, about this project, because it's very interesting. And so I want to finish with a few words about future art. I think we should really change our way to perceive this digital art that is going to be around us really soon. Because so far we're connected with this art in the same way we were connected with the painting on the walls. So we try to project some digital art on the floor, on the walls, and make it interactive. But that could be much more inspiring. That could be an instrument for us to connect, for us to dream together. For example, my friends from St. Petersburg already make a beautiful project called Heaven Reality, where they collect people's dreams and images from people's dreams that are that people see quite often, and they already make these images in augmented reality. So guys, we can dream together, we can connect through this this art, and that could be really huge. And for this this image is pretty dark, but I wanted to tell by this image that for these goals we need a really good community of artists, of programmers, urbanists, scientists, and we should work all together. And let's dream. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I hope you're not thinking this guy again, but I was asked to kind of moderate a conversation between both of you, and thanks very much for the very interesting presentations. I'm going to try and say as little as possible. I'm sure people have questions from the floor. When we were putting this together, one of the questions we were kind of thinking about was like the relationship between using data as a kind of material in creative processes, and I think there's a really nice kind of parallel or comparison between the way you guys are both working about this question, and the kind of idea that to what extent are we telling stories, or are we, where is the kind of the truth of data lying in some of these questions, and what are we using data for? And so I think maybe we could start with a very simple question, which is there ever too much data? Is there ever too much information?
I think that I really like the book of Yuval Harari called Homo Deus, and he said that soon all the religion will be forgotten because we're going to have one religion called dataism. And he likes to say that Google and Facebook going to know you better than yourself, and then he says that no, they're going to know you better than your mother. So they're going to keep all your data, like biological data, your heartbeats when you meet Karen or Susan or Mark, or so, biologically they know you better. So no, that couldn't be too much data, but it's going to be difficult to work with it, maybe.
Well, I think, speaking of urban data, the more data you have, the more work you have to do to make sense of it and to find something valuable in that data. Well, I don't think there is too much data, but the bigger the data is, the harder it is to visualize, but we need better data, not bigger, I guess.
Sorry, maybe we could grab another microphone, sorry. But I was just actually thinking, sitting this close to the screen, I had quite an experience of big data kind of looming down. But the other question I was going to kind of follow on from, and you both kind of referenced making predictions in your kind of work at some point. And I was very kind of struck that the use of data to make different kinds of predictions. So in the case of the kind of the Velo Bike project, you're making kind of qualitative predictions about the future, and then you're using data in a different kind of predictive model. I wondered if you could say anything about the relationship to using data to predict things or predict the future.
Actually, I'm not predicting, I'm dreaming. So I'm a dreamer. What can I say? But you know, sometimes artists and dreamers are inspiring people who create really big things. So I hope that inspiration is enough.
Yes, I think we can use data to predict the future, and there is machine learning for that. That's it.
Because the other question we kind of floated in the run-up to this was, to what extent is there kind of an element of hallucination in the process of like relationships to data? Like how much, and it's this question about dreaming and using data to dream and kind of tell ourselves a different story. I wondered if, how do you imagine this, how do you think about using data to hallucinate or to imagine a different kind of future that is potentially not even possible in certain cases?
So I think that if we're talking about dreaming, I hope data could help us to understand ourselves. Because when we think, it's also not my thoughts, Harari's thoughts, when we think that we take right decision, we are not taking right decision most of the times, because we are just like biological creatures and led by some mood or health state. So it's great for us to understand the reality, you know, the reality around us. And as soon as we understand ourselves, we're going to understand our cities better, our communities better. And yeah, so let's start from psychology and start dreaming and hallucinating about like data about ourselves, not about like beautiful structures in the city. First, we should know who are we